Now, one of the great things in life is there are people that have accumulated wisdom that can help us. Help us, in spite of big government spending, in spite of weakening our defenses. What are the principles for a successful life? And anyway, Newt Gingrich now joins us, former Speaker of the House, along with his daughter, Jackie Gingrich Cushman. 5 principles for a successful life. Think about it. Well, you mean it's not Barack Obama, it's not the government? Anyway, guys, welcome to the program.
That's great to be with you.
Thank you. Glad to be with you.
Well, I love this because, you know what? Everybody's worried about the future and the economy. And you guys put together this new book, 5 Principles for a Successful Life. And one of the things that I always talk about is, all right, so we live in the greatest country. We have more freedoms. We have more liberties than anybody else. We're worried about whether or not the government is going to take over too much of our economy, whether or not they'll defend our security. But I keep telling everybody that'll listen that the single best, most important thing we've got to realize is that we can be responsible for our own lives. Isn't that what this is about?
Sean, you're exactly right. Our book talks about 5 core principles, which to your point makes a personal responsibility. So it's dream big, work hard, learn every day, enjoy life, and be true to yourself. But this is a book with specific examples and real principles that people can use to change their lives.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes going back to those basic principles in life are the things that matter the most. You know what? I know a lot of people, they don't dream big. I know a lot of people that really don't want to work that hard in life. They just, for whatever reason, they don't. A lot of us give up the principle of learning every day. Some people, unfortunately, don't enjoy life to its fullest. And I think be true to yourself. I think we've got to live by our values. Mr. Speaker?
No, that's exactly right. And, I first started doing this years and years ago when as a congressman, I would go and talk to 7th and 8th graders, and I realized they didn't care all that much about how conference committees worked or exactly how you got a bill passed. But they were all looking forward to the rest of their lives. And I tried to think for myself, what were the principles I had learned over the years that I thought were really, really valuable? And then when our 2 grandchildren started to get old enough to ask, how did Grandpa get to be Speaker of the House and all that, Jackie turned one day and just said, we ought to really write a book about how these apply. And we've been very fortunate to get people like General Dave Petraeus and Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger and Whoopi Goldberg, Lou Holtz, a whole range of people who gave us very, very positive examples that we put into the book.
Well, let me ask you this. What is it about this country, though, that separates us? We always discuss the political side of life, but to what extent does it really not matter? Is it somewhat irrelevant if you live in America in its current configuration, that politics doesn't necessarily need to be a big part of your life because you can really be the master of your own destiny?
Well, I think 2 things. I think, first of all, America is different because we've always been the country where we can pursue happiness. And this book talks about how do you pursue happiness. I think in the end, when you figure out how do you do that best, I think you get back to the core conservative values of limiting government, because it's hard to pursue happiness when you're busy filling out forms of triplicate to start your business. But these really are the core principles. And the fun thing is we were able to get a lot of research. We have 25 different books that we recommend. We have 42 contributors. We have some great personal stories of my dad's and a few of my own, some of which might be about my dad, but are all very fun and all very enjoyable.
We had a girl call this program the other day, and she was going back to school, and we do Financial Advice Friday because I suspect that with the record deficits and debts that we're accumulating and the high unemployment, people are really struggling. So we're bringing some of the brightest economic minds on the program 1 hour a week, and we're letting people call in and ask very specific questions. And the idea is navigating through these troubled waters here. And one of the things, whatever decisions we make today, it's going to impact where we're going to be tomorrow. Right, Mr. Speaker?
Well, that's exactly right. And it's personal. People need to realize the difference between spending and investment. When you go out and you invest in an education, or you go out and you invest in that first job and you learn how to do it well, it's just amazingly important for your own long-term growth. General Pete Pace, who retired as chairman of the Joint Chiefs, said that one of the great lessons of his life was to do the job he had, not to sit around whining and complaining about the job he didn't have. And he found that if he really focused on doing a great job every time, no matter what it was, that presently he got better and better jobs because he was a guy who did the job. And I think if young people would recognize that, I was recently at the College of the Ozarks, which is a work-study college that has no student loan program. 92% of students graduate with no debt. The 8% who have debt average $5,000, usually to have bought a car their senior year. But you have to actually work. And it's a great program only for young people who have economic need. You have to actually need the money in order to go there. And it's the fifth most selective undergraduate college in America because there's so many applications. But literally, I'm urging every governor in the country to create a work college because we want every young American to know if you'll work, if you dream big, which you did, Sean. Think back to when you were first out there on talk radio and what your dreams were like. And now here you have television show, you have talk radio, you have best-selling books. All those dreams came true for you, but I also have known you long enough to know you worked really hard to make them come true.
Well, I will be honest. I never really had a grand plan. The single best thing that I think that I did throughout my life is I had a desire to do something. Maybe that's the dream or dreaming big. And you talk about in this book how your dream is yours and very specific to you. But the other thing that I did, I was willing to take chances, and I really was willing to work hard. And you write in the book, my conclusion is that if you dream big, you have to be prepared to work hard to have any chance or any hope of achieving that dream. And there are a lot of people that I have met in life that this idea of hard work is not something that they're that fond of.
Well, there's another thing you do, though, that Jackie may want to comment on in a second, and that is, I was with you. You were my good friend in Atlanta. You were always a big help. You had the guts to move to New York, then you had the guts to try out for television. I mean, you have always been willing to risk failure, and part of the American dream has to be that you can always get back up off the ground, but you got to keep trying. And Jackie said this recently. She did a great project with some young people in a poor neighborhood in Atlanta, encouraging them to do their homework by paying them the equivalent of having a job, and it really worked. But Jackie, why don't you comment on that?
It's a great program called Learn, Earn, and Achieve. And actually, that's what got us motivated to finish the first draft of this book. But these students were struggling in math and science, and many of them didn't think they could perform. So what we did is we paid them to attend after-school tutoring sessions with teachers to work in math and science. And sure enough, we tested it statistically against the control group, and they did better. And they learned that if they could do better. It was very interesting. Oh,
we're losing her there. Mr. Speaker, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't hear her.
Oh, well, we lost her phone. Okay, I'm sorry. We're both actually on the way to Boston together, so we can do your show tonight on television.
Yeah, no. Did you get my email, by the way?
Yes, I have, and I just sent you a note back because I am always loyal and true blue.
I'm like, what is 50 after? What does that mean? I said, boy, I'm getting backbenched here. But, well, listen, I will tell you this. I think the single most important thing in life, and this is great about the book, is that, you know what, that we live under freedom, and not everybody in the world has the opportunities that we have and that we take for granted every day. This is really important. And I want to see people take risks. I want to see people achieve. I want to see people, more than anything else, as we pursue happiness, as we're doing all these things, our life begins to emerge and unfold. And, that is the great mystery, that while we're talking about everything involving government, the great mystery of life is unfolding before us. And are we taking advantage of the great gift that we have?
Well, that's right. But the point at the heart of what you just said is this. We have the freedom if we are prepared to dream big and work hard and learn every day, and we can't sustain that unless we enjoy life. And in the end, we can't live with ourselves if we're not true to ourselves. And so I think that's part of how those five came together. And to truly be free as Americans, I think these five principles for a successful life actually matter to every American. They may be particularly powerful for young Americans, but I think they matter to every American.
Well, I agree, and I really, these principles are timeless. You live in freedom, dream big. If you work hard and play by the rules, you can and will be successful. We've got to have a humble attitude and learn every day. You've got to enjoy this life and find some happiness. I think there's a spiritual component to that. I think that's really important. So I think that is sound advice. And at the end of the day, you know what? If you're true to yourself, you can't go wrong. But I've got to run, Mr. Speaker, and we're breaking up a little bit. We'll see you, Newt Gingrich on Hannity tonight, 9 Eastern.